Hey guys, how's it going? As usual, welcome to Sam's MCO special. So today we are going to be talking about this thing, but not just this thing. We're going to be talking about in relation to stress. Yes, I'm sure you guys have encountered stress at some point in your lives. Okay, so there are different types of stress, but uh, to examine how stress affects our brain, especially the developing brain in kids. First, we must understand the brain. Okay, so I don't know if you guys remember from school, but do you remember the regions of the brain? Okay, maybe not. So this main big happy looking fish thing, this is the cerebral cortex. Okay, so this is the main part of the brain, and it is involved with all sorts of things: thinking, planning, seeing, feeling. All right, and then at the back here, this little wavy thing is the cerebellum. Okay, so that's involved in movement, motor control mainly. Okay, all right. So onto the lobes. Okay, so there are two hemispheres, which is you divide it down the middle. Okay, so you have the left and the right. Okay, hemispheres. But within each hemisphere, there are regions, or we call them lobes. Okay, so at the front is, let me use a different color. At the front of the brain is, of course, the aptly named frontal lobe. Okay, frontal. All right, and then there is this one kind of in the middle, which is the parietal. Parietal. Okay, and then there is the one at the back, which is the occipital. Like you gotta go to the hospital. If you say hospital, but you are maybe like you are Pinoy. You say hospital. Please take me to the hospital. Okay, and then you have this one, which is the temporal lobe. Yes, it is about time we got to that one. Okay, so what do each of them do? Of course, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but basically the front is the important one because it does all their left thinking. Okay, it does the planning, future planning. It makes the decisions, and it's involved in attention and also controlling your emotions. Okay, so the front, very important. Okay, then the parietal is to do with the touch and a bit of taste. The occipital is a bit of vision, and the sides are memory processing. Okay, and then down here in the pons is the control of your heart and breathing and all that kind of thing. Okay, the bridge, pons verb. Okay, all right. So now that we've got that one figured out, let's. That's not good. What did I do there? Go away. Okay, so what we're going to talk about now is how stress affects the brain. Okay, so when it comes to stress, there are two kinds of stress we should talk about. Okay, so there is, I suppose, you can call it good stress and bad stress. Okay, so it's two kinds. So good stress is like, when you go for a run, you get a workout, you stress your body. So that is still considered stress. Or you perform a challenging task like, I don't know, juggling balls or, chugging a whole bottle of wine. Okay, not that that's advisable, but um, yeah, that's a short term, and I guess we call it good stress because it ends. Okay, that's the important part. Okay, it is short term. It's like getting chased by a jaguar. You run away, you run up a tree. Probably not a good idea because it's a jaguar. Um, but okay, you run into a cave. Okay, so then the stress ends because you're like, whew, you're panting heavy, but you're okay, you're alive. Okay, so stress finished, finito, good. Okay, the bad stress is the chronic stress. Okay, so the stress that hangs around and stays forever and ever. Okay, so you might be familiar with that. Things like demanding job, stressful job. Every day you have to face it. you know, or abuse, growing up in a bad environment, so things where you're stressed all the time, or being in like a toxic relationship, things like that, where you're just, you're always under strife, you're never happy. Okay, chronic bad. Okay, so why is it bad? I guess I don't really need to tell you why it's bad, because it causes cortisol, release of cortisol hormone in your body, and it does all sorts of silly stuff. Okay, but to understand, yeah. So basically, I was talking about the brain just now, right, and all the regions, and in these regions, specifically this frontal cortex region, is the brain is made up of these things. These two types of material, which we call gray and white matter. Okay. Okay. So I guess the real difference, the only thing you need to know, that differentiates gray and white matter is that gray is the I guess the important stuff. It's the cells that are responsible for things like attention, memory, thought, emotional control. These are gray matter. So they do stuff. Whereas white matter is more like the wires connecting the gray matter. Okay, so you have gray, 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 gray. They just call it that because that's the way it looks. Okay, so gray, 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 and then the white connects them all up. Just make sure everything's linked. Okay, so gray important, white maybe not so important. Still important, but you know. So what they found, studies have found that chronic stress alters the brain structure, alters it. Okay, so you end up with a funky brain. Okay, it changes the structure of the gray and the white matter. Okay, so the balance is out. You end up with a lot more white matter. Okay, it's a lot more white. White. Okay, less gray, which means kids that grow up with a chronic stress have impaired abilities to form memories. Okay, let me write this down. So the reduction in memory forming. Okay, decision making, and what else? Let's see. Oh, emotional control, of course. Emotional control. And clearly some spatial awareness. Okay, yeah, I should really clean this, but I'm not going to. Okay, so there you go. Reduction in these very critical things that generally people need. All right. So yeah, so according to the research, kids that have been exposed to a large amount of chronic stress. So these poor kids who are under chronic stress. All right, when they grow up, stress, pressure, tekanan. Okay, so if they go through chronic stress, okay, things that never go away, then they will have damaged prefrontal cortexes. Damaged. Okay, slap a band-aid on. Is that what a band-aid looks like? I don't know. Yeah, it's not going to go well. Okay, sad from the cortex. All right. So yeah, there you go. So because the prefrontal cortex is mostly made up of gray matter, and with less gray matter means less ability to solve complex problems, think ahead, control emotions, yada yada yada. Okay. So yes. So that's why it's particularly important for kids, developing children, not to undergo too much chronic stress. Okay. So getting chased by lions, tigers, and bears still okay, but as long as they're not getting chased every day. Okay. All right. So happy brain. Hopefully, happy brain is a happy body and a happy life. Yeah. Okay, that's all from me, and I hope you guys have a relatively stress-free Chinese New Year. So happy Chinese New Year, guys, and I wish you guys well. I'm sure I'll still be around to wish you happy Chinese New Year in a couple more days. Almost there, guys. and apparently we can dine in now. So, whoop-de-doo. Yeah. Okay. If there are still places left to dine in. Grim. I know. All right. That's all for me. Sam out. Signed. Sam out. Yeah, that's right. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go.